and welcome to Rockin the Love. I'm Robyn, and there's no Gil today, at least for not for right now. He is trying to find a better Wi Fi situation. Apparently, where he was at home is not working well. But where I am is working perfect. So I'm here, and I have our producer, Mr. Reverend Michael Mangus, coming to you all the way from Ohio.
and
And
the super secret concrete bunker somewhere around Akron, Ohio, that is so top secret that only one person knows where it's at, and that is Diego Reyes. Everyone else, especially, I keep it secret from Robert Brzezinski because I don't know. Don't want him to know where I'm at.
yeah, that's a good choice.
Yes, thank you.
Secrets are good. Secrets are good. So anyway, so we're gonna chit chat, and maybe Gil will show up. Um, and we'd love to chit chat with you. So let me know where you're calling from and sign in. It was so great having that lively conversation last week. So let us know where you are, where you're calling in from, and um, that's it for that.
Um,
I'm thrown off. I'm so thrown off because, as Michael knows, I just got off the plane literally like an hour ago from New Mexico. I shouldn't have left. I thought he could do it on his own. I shouldn't have left him. I don't understand.
See, that's what happens when you leave him. All right, he
I
gets,
know.
you know.
It's, I'm so perplexed by the whole thing. So, okay. So, Michael,
Yes,
it's time for the good news.
it's good news, and now the good news.
And now the good news.
Yay! Okay, so what
All
good
right.
news do you have?
I have a couple of things. I have that the uh the okay that the poverty the past quarter century witnessed an unprecedented decline in child poverty rates in the United States. Today, roughly 1 in 10 children live in families whose economic resources are considered below the poverty line, which is a 59% drop over the last 26 years. That's not good, is it?
I think that's very good. You're breaking up a little bit here, Robyn. So
Oh, great. Is it, is it like Friday the 13th? Okay. I tell me I don't know what to
no,
do.
you're doing
Let me
fine.
see.
Just go ahead. Go ahead. Just back away a little bit from the
Okay.
microphone. I think you're fine.
All right. So yeah, that was one of my good news is, and my other good news was that um in Singapore, I think it was Singapore. In Singapore, they started creating um, like building apartments that they have um, decorated in a way to make it Alzheimer friendly for like older, like in older communities for older uh, citizens that may experience Alzheimer's or dementia. The buildings are painted so in different colors and with like a different theme on the outside to make it easier for them to find their homes. So I think it's nice that people are thinking about what's going on in older people's lives and in younger people's lives because I told two stories.
Absolutely. Well, my good
Yeah.
news here is tiny home village for Salt Lake City homeless gets a green light for 430 units. I, homelessness, it's interesting, especially around here in Akron. You wouldn't think that there's a homeless problem, but there is. But one of the solutions that they're coming up with is these tiny home villages. Let's see if I can get this down here. It says taking the lead to fight homelessness epidemic in America, the Salt Lake City Council has moved forward with a plan to lease at least 8 acres of city land, build a village of tiny homes, described as recovery housing. 430 units would produce an additional transition between total homelessness and total stability. The plan was introduced in April of 2021 and has taken a while to gain traction. On Tuesday, the city council listened to concerns from the community about the use of city resources. So I think that that is good news that people are, especially communities, are taking a look at how to get people off of the street and also, into at least something until that they can get permanent housing. I know around here, it's going to get very, very cold very fast. We usually have temperature. Um, Usually in January, we have temperatures below zero here.
Yeah.
And so here in Ohio, so um, several social agencies work with the city to try to get again people off the streets and people into some type of shelter. So I think that tiny homes and having portions of your city designated for that, I think, is a good thing.
Absolutely. I think that to me sounds like something so doable, right? That we should be able to do it. Everybody should be able to have that occur in their city. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it
they
just
already go ahead.
go ahead.
No, no, they already have prefab homes that are uh, again, but unfortunately, they cost around 10,000. I think to go ahead and to order from this company, but still that you're able then to go ahead and to hook them up, hopefully to some type of system. I think that the major thing with the homeless shelter or the homeless encampments that we have around here is that they tend to accumulate a lot of trash and are very disorganized, which I think that the city officials do not like.
Right.
So this whole idea of getting people into homes, getting them again to having regular services through the area to pick up the trash and also getting the care that we need. I do have an acquaintance who does work with the homeless, and uh, he's had people in the shelter. His furnace went out last year, so I went ahead and along with a lot of other people, we donated to get another furnace in there. So there are people out there. Again, it's just finding resources and to be able to again to help. So
Right. Right. And I think it's so important. I think in the long run, that money that the city would spend is going to save them money. Not, I mean, yeah, just and also to create a healthier community.
well, they're spending money, Robin, anyhow, on getting them out. I know that
Right.
here in Akron, because of the shooting that we had during the summer of Mr. Jalen Walker, that there's been many officers have quit the police force or retired. So it really uses a lot of resources to be able to get these individuals out of these encampments.
Mm,
So it is a challenge here in Ohio as far as you see kind of the homelessness like in Oakland and LA and other places. Well, again, there's homelessness all over. So again, we I think that having these kind of communities really help in getting people back on their feet and also getting the help that they need too, because then they're able to be seen by medical personnel and also social workers then too. So
right. Right. Yeah. It's definitely a challenge and a problem but that seems like it should be more manageable. I mean, it seems like the consciousness is moving that direction. So
Well, and again, you still have individuals within our New Thought communities that say, how dare you talk about issues like this? We should only teach consciousness. And I agree with that. And that I think that also, that whole idea of treating and moving your feet, is a big thing too. That how am I to sleep well here, knowing that somebody out there is out there in the cold here in Ohio, freezing. Oh, guess who just popped in? Let's see if we can add him to the stream. Coming all the way from New Mexico, Reverend Gil, CQ, Reverend Gil, are you there?
I am here.
Yay!
I am at Starbucks outside in my new outdoor studio.
Only in America could we do this. This is craziness. Well, Michael just shared his good news. So we were talking about the homeless situation, and I had shared mine as well. We're just talking about community. You have good news for us other than the fact that you got on?
Well, that's pretty good news, don't you think? Yeah, actually I do. I do have some good news. I was reading this article about Hawaii, which, since of course we like it there, I thought it was good to check it out. And apparently some people were doing some research and they found a tree that they thought was extinct.
I saw that article.
You saw that? Yeah, and they harvested some seeds and went back to the lab and grew seedlings, and then took them back and planted them. In addition, when they got back, they found that there were a couple already seedlings growing.
Yep.
It's part of there were 15, 17, and yeah, it's pretty cool, huh?
Yep. And I actually thought, well, I'm not going to do that one because I thought you might take that one.
There you go. Hello, Bonnie, our doula for grief.
We were having technical difficulties. Gil just got here, but it's good you're here. And thank you for bringing up Dia de los Muertos, because that is exactly what sparked our show today. We are going to talk about crossing over the veil and that kind of stuff. The title of our show is wonderful because we went to a Dia de los Muertos event yesterday, and we were just talking about what does it really mean, that crossing over the veil, and we're just going to explore that a little bit. So I am going to let Gil get a little more settled, maybe see if he can adjust where his son is behind him, and we will be right back here on New Thought Media Network.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
And we're back.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Can you hear me? Am I here?
Yes.
All
You're here.
right. Hey, I wanted to say, it's great that Bonnie's on because you probably didn't see it, Robyn, but she has some really cool pictures from Dia de los Muertos with her fully made up. They're great.
Yes. Full regalia. Yes. It was great. It was great to see the celebration. Yeah.
And indeed,
so
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and commenting on her thing here. Indeed, there is good news all around. If we look, and that's really part of our theme in terms of wonderful, that it's all one. There's just this incredible oneness that happens that I think we don't always notice.
Say more about that.
Well, I went on Facebook earlier because I was posting for this, and it was just fascinating to me, all of the various people posting, a birthday thing, somebody's mom having their 91st birthday. We had people writing prayers, people bringing up, the fact that they spoke somewhere and please watch, just all kinds of things that were all about how people are coming together in the world over something, trying to do something together and learning something and praying for one another and offering support to one another and birthday wishes. And, it just made me think how much we're all connected all the time.
It's true. And it does seem like there's more of a trend to work together right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like that we just finished up a retreat this weekend in New Mexico, in Pecos, New Mexico, with a group of practitioners, and just, people wanting to connect and really work together and find new ways of being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People being willing to put themselves out there and realizing that, although that retreat was, super unique in the sense of who was there and what was going on, it wasn't super unique. I mean, that same kind of thing is happening everywhere, because that's what we talk about when we talk about the oneness of spirit, the oneness, that there is only one thing happening, and that we're all continually moving in the direction of finding our way to connection, etc.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Bonnie says, just spent the morning sitting in the cemetery with lots of people, old, young, and babies, all enjoying life and honoring and remembering those that have transitioned. Truly fits our theme for today. Yeah,
Wonderful.
Interesting. I'm just thinking, someone sent me a poem last night, and it's all in Spanish, but I wish I would have translated it for you guys, because it's really about the whole not sitting and being sad, but sitting and really honoring that the sun's shining and that life is happening and that love is happening. And it was a really beautiful poem that really expressed what Dia de los Muertos is about. And I think, Gil, was that your first Dia de los Muertos event yesterday?
No, it wasn't. Well, maybe. I don't know. I know that I've become familiar with it through things that we did at Oakland Center, and it's certainly through Coco, but I don't remember if I've really done one like that. But it was really cool, and I think the thing that struck me was the oneness in terms of it was such an insight and a beauty to see people or to hear people talking about the people that they were honoring, the ancestors they were particularly remembering. And it was just, you hear about their ancestors and you feel closer to them.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just going to clarify for you that that was your first real experience with the whole ceremonial thing. You know, I mean, you've seen
I think you're right. Yeah.
yeah. And but it was different because we all brought, you know, a meal or food that symbolized our culture. And then people put their stuff on the altar and then talked about their family members. And it was really interesting to get to know people in that way. And it was really interesting because you could it it, it was you could feel the spirit. You could just feel the spirits moving in the room, right? It was very different.
It definitely sensed the power and the just being held in the room. It was really beautiful. Really beautiful. I was particularly touched by one person who shared about his sister who had died when she was 4, which was many years ago. I'm guessing 60 or more years ago, or something like that. And he spoke about how she was this light in the world, even though she had been really not able to function as a normal child her whole life. And I just got that feeling that she is constantly there with him, you know, reminding him to step up and to be love in the world in a way that, I don't know, that's just really special.
Yeah. Um, it, it's reminding me. I mean, it. So can you talk a little bit about All Saints Day? Because that's what yesterday's called here, and just both.
I can't talk to it much, to tell you the truth.
I said a little.
A little. Well,
So
I think it's really the same thing. It's remembering those who have gone before who have blessed the world somehow. And really that's everybody.
okay, and Michael, you can come back in because I'm thinking you were almost more entertaining than Gil. Just kidding.
Probably was. But I have to tell you that I'm here being entertained by people that might be at one of our godchildren's school at some point. Who knows? They're making a lot of noise.
From the legal department of the New Thought Media Network, they just called. Gil is a minister, however, he does not work for Xfinity. So they said, yeah, that's from our lawyers who are down the hallway, at the end of the hallway. Yeah, so they wanted me to put that up.
Glad they called. I'm a former employee, just to clarify, of Xfinity. So no longer employed.
That's a great shirt. Yeah, Bonnie wrote again. And if you can go ahead, your Spanish is a lot better than mine.
Last night in Jojotepec, we saw the most awesome and festive parade for Dia de los Muertos. We forget that death is an intricate part of life. We can celebrate both aspects. Joy is all around. Yeah, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, is that celebration of life and eternal life and the oneness and the continuation of life. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine this past year that his wife died very suddenly. And so he's been going through the grieving process, and a lot of times he shares on Facebook, and that's, sometimes he's better with it. And sometimes again, he shares, and he's a part of my Wednesday night group. Hold it here. We do have something from Bonnie here. I was going to ask Reverend Gil for a discount on my cable bill. Bonnie, I was right when we did the Pride Parade in Pittsburgh. We were right in front of the Xfinity employees. And I went ahead and I asked a couple of them, and they said, we can't do anything for you. I said, oh, okay. So, but no, I did, so I think it brings up also the fact, the thing that we don't want to talk about is what happens when, especially a spouse passes away. How do we do that? How do we grieve? How do we, and so what I've seen really healthy in my friend is that he has a community he grieves with, and that he allows himself to grieve. And I think that's been extremely healthy, and also healthy that he does it. He feels comfortable enough to do that in front of us. So you may want to comment on that.
Well, we are in the physical body. We live in this physical space, and so when people make a transition and move on to a different dimension, it's very much like they have left us, and yet there's so much of them here with us the whole time. I mean, I spoke last night a little bit about my mom and realized that there's lots of ways that she's with me. One of the things Robyn mentioned was about food. Well, I baked some cupcakes that my mom used to bake and took them. And just the time in the kitchen doing it made me realize how close she was, and I think that's the kind of thing that we don't always acknowledge, is that there are so many things in our life that have been set in motion because of our relationship, because of someone else. And so in that sense, they're always there. And if we pay attention, they're probably there teaching us new things that we're we're kind of oblivious to if we're not paying attention.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that, and I think we get so used to and stuck on what we see as opposed to what we don't see. It is an interesting time, and it was interesting to hear you talk about your mom and your dad, and I brought my grandfather, and it's just interesting because as I spoke about him, like I could feel his presence so strong, and it almost it reminds me of what we were talking about. I think we talked about it on the show last week or the week before. I know it's been coming up, but the whole thing about your angels and asking your angels for help or asking your angels to come. And it's like, I feel like, when you invite them in, you definitely feel them,
Yeah, I think you're onto it there. And we often don't, I think we don't spend enough time in that internal space where we can listen and, have our eyes closed, if you will, and close out the world that we see and really allow ourselves to sense the world that's around us. And that's when we sense, and I think you're right too, we have to acknowledge, just like we do in the physical, that we need help from other people, that we need support in different times. I don't run up to people and say, gosh, it really looks like you're a screw up. Can I help you? That just doesn't go over well.
Gil,
Looks
don't
like your life's a mess, boy, don't you want some support? We have to wait. We have to be willing to reach out and go, gosh, this isn't working for me. What do you think? How can you support me? And I think that's true all the way around.
Yeah, Bonnie had a really good comment here. Let's see here. Did you bring that up? Okay. It says, Reverend Mangus, you are doing the most important vital thing for your friend, that is listening, allowing him to express what he's feeling or thinking. per bell hooks, we cannot heal from grief and isolation. I agree. I think that, and this whole idea that in New Thought that we don't talk about our feelings, or that people grieve silently. I've just been again really blessed with the gift of him saying, some days are tougher than others, and that yes, he feels her presence around, but there's some days again that. So he's been, my friend has been keeping active, and again, he's involved not only in the CSL community, but also we have a group of very dedicated Science Mind students who meet on Wednesday evening with Dr. Tom Senar. And he's been a part of that community. So I think that having him continuing, him coming, I think has been very, very important for him. And also that what you brought up, Gil and Robbins, but you don't have to do this alone. Is that you have people around you, in that New Thought is still catching up to the whole idea is that we can have feelings about things rather than going ahead and either putting a spiritual Band-Aid over it or covering it up. That was one of the questions that I had during my ministerial panel about a month ago. They said, well, Michael, what about spiritual Band-Aid? And I said, that's an outmoded.
I thought that was a concert in Ireland. Spiritual Band-Aid. Wasn't that what that was?
No, that's the name of a band. Spiritual Band-Aid. Yeah. Or that's a humanitarian fundraiser.
There you go.
Spiritual Band-Aid. So no, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to agree with you that I think with anything we get an idea and we see something, we go, that's great, and we forget that it's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the puzzle. And really, interestingly enough, when we talk about New Thought, we're talking about wisdom of all the ages, of all the spiritual lives of people. And so, it's open to what's coming all the time. So if we get stuck in some narrow space of it, it doesn't make sense. You have to be super whatever. And it's bigger than that.
Well, and I think what Bonnie's saying, I don't know why we didn't think to have Bonnie on, a grief person during this time, because truly, it's part of the process. And I think that's why, Dia de los Muertos and even All Saints Day, just days that are specifically to honor your loved one, to remember, to celebrate, to learn, to share. It lets go of the grief in one way and really brings you into the gifts and the gratitude for, having had that person in your life, or, to continue for continued healing. And I think, it's not what we do necessarily in our culture. And I think it's so important to do.
Yeah, it is really important. It is really important. And, we heard some people last night that, had lost spouses, and, it's real, the separation. And yet the great thing that we have is we know that we can move into the place of oneness. We can move into that space of knowing that really we're connected. And if we let ourselves, we can feel that and know that. And I think that's the beauty of it. And what we get to do for one another is, become the physical support that others need during the process of realizing that, their life has changed dramatically. Anytime we lose a loved one, our life changes. And then whatever we did with that person goes away in a way.
Right. So how do we keep that alive? How do we keep that line of communication awake and aware and connected when somebody has transitioned or or you feel like you're losing someone.
I think in some ways I go back to what Bonnie said a while ago, and that was about how there's good news all around. It's looking for what is the positive. And when the way you asked the question actually took me back to when we were living with Dad, and he was going through progressing in Alzheimer's, and there came a point where things changed, and he went to live with my sister. And the thing though was that we realized how wonderful of a time that was, because we got to share with him in totally different ways than I had shared with him as a kid or even as an adult during that process, and learned so many different things. So even in the midst of losing him in a way, we gained a whole new aspect of who he was.
Right. Right.
And I think that's part of the thing when we remember people who have passed on, is part of the same thing. You go to somebody's memorial service and you say, when did they do that? What was that about? Who are these people?
Yeah, you learn from everybody's perspective
Yeah.
who they were.
It
Were you
was,
going to say something, Michael?
no, I was saying it was interesting. We had a community member pass very suddenly. We did a year-end bowl burning ritual where we use pieces of paper and then go ahead and burn them again to let go of the year, feelings, whatever. And then I get a phone call, I think it was on like Tuesday or Wednesday, from her friend saying she had gone. It was so interesting then interviewing the family for the, because I found out some things about her that I did not know. And so it was, it was again, just really interesting how she was, again, rebuilding her life and doing some things after there were some circumstances in her life. And I think that having a memorial service, I really support individuals in doing that. It was kind of sad for me. I had a friend of mine who they did not have a memorial service right after. Now, I'm not sure. The mom said, well, we'll have a celebration of life, but I never got any kind of word. And she was, besides Diana, she was one of my closest friends. And so, again, the people that, and I still miss her, my friend Julie. Hi, Julie. Yeah, she used to get on me for all of my mistakes. She was a English major, so she used to grade my papers, and she used to get in there, and this is before all the editing programs, and so she used to say, "What was it? I spelled Freud wrong." all the time, and she used to get a big kick out of that. So, but yeah,
Isn't that great,
remembering
though?
the good things. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that great though, when you sort of remember that and you realize, you can feel the love in that, the love and care that went into her reminding you that Freud is not spelled that way. But knowing that really what she was trying to do was support you in being better, and isn't that in theory what we're all doing? And that, I think that was like part of what I was sharing about looking around on Facebook, was just seeing all these people in different ways lifting one another up, and offering different ways of seeing the world, and offering different prayers and different insights and different books to read, and just all kinds of things to support people in becoming more of who they want to be.
I know that this is a hard topic for some people, because the whole idea of especially losing a spouse that you've been with for such a long time. I got a phone call from my friend who from high school, and she just lost her husband about a couple of weeks ago. So I'm an amateur radio operator, and he was also, and so he had she asked me to come over and take a look at all of his radio equipment. And now we're going to get it ready for sale. And it was nice to be able to go over and support her in doing that. And in amateur radio, we usually say their call sign. And then we usually, on the end of it, it goes SK or silent key, which means that it comes from Morse code. So when they're not with us anymore, they cannot send Morse to us. But it was really interesting for me of going over and supporting my friend and saying, we're going to do the very best we can as far as getting you the best prices we can to support you. So I think that's again, and seeing my friend grieve this past year, it's been very helpful to me on how can I help when somebody else's spouse, they were married 43 years and and a lot of times, especially people who have a lot of amateur radio equipment, usually men, that the spouses don't say, well, what am I going to do with all of this? So, so it's been nice to go on over and reconnect with my friend and to help her out, as I can. So.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think there's so many things that it really resonated for me because I have a friend that passed away too, and the husband was like, yeah, we'll do a, memorial after COVID. And it hasn't happened. There's no talk of it. And I think it's hard for completion. It's hard just to even move into the other phase, without like honoring and celebrating her life, and I was thinking about last night, somebody was saying that, they could feel like the people in the room, and that when the person who was organizing it started to move the stuff around, she said, it wasn't her. It was the hands of her aunt moving things around. And it just makes me think because like there's times when I'll put my hands in a certain way and I think of my sister and I know it's my sister. And it's like, it's weird, like certain motions or things people had or certain things you had with them, like jokes or whatever, and they come up and you're like, that person is smiling down on you or wanting you to remember or calling something forth or something. Do you guys feel like that, or is it just me?
No, I do too, for sure. I often think that my less than funny jokes come through from my father.
Don't go blaming George.
Darn, I thought I could get away with that. No, but just being silly and being willing to be silly. But at the other side of that is my compassion for people I know is driven a lot from my father. And I know he's always present in that. I can feel it.
Yeah. And Linda is sharing via Kent. Hello, Linda and Kent out there. I was shopping at snack aisle at Costco the other night, got distracted by a strong feeling of my dad's presence. It was his 100th birthday that day. I got to experience his gentle sense of humor when I almost went home with something I used to regularly buy for him, margarita mix, perhaps, instead of what I was intending to buy for myself. My angels can show up anywhere. I only know that because I used to buy it for him as well. So that's so sweet, Linda. Thank you for sharing that, because
that's funny that trying to get her to buy something that she doesn't even use.
Right? But it's interesting because even things like that, like every now and then, like Linda, your dad, like he'll show up on my phone because I have his phone number in there. And I'm like, oh, hi. I mean, and it's just, you think of people, I mean, I don't know that it's always them, but I mean, I find it interesting when those energies and those little signs show up.
And it occurs to me, I said last night that I felt like I needed to honor my mom because I often talk about my father. I don't know why, and I just realized that that was probably my father reminding me, um, since it was his transition day, November 1st. And he was probably the one saying, look, the reason you're here is your mother, so you better say something nice. Maybe he was giving me the what for. What do you think, Robin?
Maybe, maybe. Clearly not loud enough, but okay. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, so how do we? Yeah, how do we? How do we? I think it's so great, Linda, what you said, and Bonnie, what you've said, because it's really being aware. Also, it's really not letting those moments pass by. It's being aware and calling it in and acknowledging it.
Yeah, Bonnie has another comment here. She says, yes, I too can feel the presence of my loved ones that have passed over. It always brings a smile to my face. The last text message I sent to my late brother will sometimes just suddenly appear on my phone. How cool is that?
That's wild. That's wild. We have a relatively new car. It's a year old now, but ever since we got it, the when the phone is hooked up to it, it brings up old text messages, and they're from. I mean, they do. Sometimes they come from people that have passed, and I mean, the first time it happened, it freaked me out. I was like, "Oh my God, Gil, so and so called today," you know, but now I'm just used to it. Now I just look to see who it is and just send them a prayer, thinking that they must need me to know they're needing something. So, I mean, it's not always someone who passed, but that just, yeah, Bonnie, that you can really relate to that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And so when we're standing in this metaphysical place, it's like, we can't go in and out. It's like we're either in or out, right? I mean, it's all energy, and it hasn't, it's only changed form. So we got to believe that everybody's using what they can work with.
Well, interesting you say that. Isn't the whole thing that one of the biggest things that we're always trying to figure out is how to allow ourselves to let go of our expectation of the form? We're always, we want something, and we want transportation, and a bicycle shows up, but we were thinking, a car, but that doesn't mean it didn't show up. And I think at some level, it's the same thing with our relationships with people, particularly who have passed, that they're going to show up in ways that surprise us, and actually won't even make sense unless we're open to it. Being open to some different form than what we expect or what we're used to.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. And so it makes sense in the angel story, right? Where people say you have to ask your angels. It makes sense that when we ask, then they can support us in that way.
I have something interesting that goes on with me is that I have sometimes that I will notice, like, for example, like 111 or 1111 or a sequence of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend of mine who took his life a few years ago, and that was one of the things that he did was he noticed those patterns. So I don't know, again, if I have an angel wanting to tell me something, or if my friend Mark is kind of around me just saying, you know, I'm here. I'm here to help you. Yeah, Mark was really big into fitness, and you know, and he did not want to he did not want to get a normal job. So what he did was he hung out at the gym most of the time, and got sponsorships from individuals and also from companies, and for his fitness. So it's you know, and it was really sad when he went ahead and when he left. You know, that he justified it, that this is something I have to do. And it was because of that he felt that no woman loved him. You know, he had tried relationship after relationship, and, you know, he just says, you know, maybe this world isn't, I'm cut out for this world. And so he made the choice, what he did. So that's what I'm saying. If you're to everyone watching, this is a tough time of year, especially with the holidays coming up, please get honest with your feelings. I think that that's something, get honest with your feelings, with your minister, with your practitioners, with the people that you love around you, and don't hide those feelings. Those are things that, again, that when we hide those thoughts, again, that it's more likely that we're going to act on. And I don't know why I brought that up, but the whole idea is that understand that what you are doing is a permanent solution or a permanent cause, effect of something that may just be transitory. So that's why the whole idea of us getting public and, you know, getting support from people, loving people around us, I think that that's very important, especially again with the holidays coming up. So for most people, it's a great time, but for some people, especially those who have lost loved ones and other things, we'll probably talk about that in weeks to come, huh, Robyn and Gil?
Probably.
Yeah, I know I've been there, so I understand the feeling. So, and
Yeah.
I suspect your friend Mark at some level wants you to know that he's okay, and that, you know, that he's learning whatever it is he needs to learn, you know, going forward.
Yeah.
By reminding you of those things.
Well, guess what?
It's time.
It's time.
It's time. So I just
By the
want
way, would you tell Legal that actually I just got a new job with, oh no, that was, no.
Well, now hold it. If that's so, then you have to give you have to call up Bonnie and get her a discount on her cable
give her a
bill.
discount. Okay. All right. Sorry, Robyn. Go ahead.
I just want to thank everyone for watching today and participating. It's so great to join in conversation with you. So I'm just sending love out to Bonnie and Penny and Tito and Linda and Kent and whoever else is out there, Karen and John and everybody. I feel like that clown that used to be able to see everyone in their magic glass. Say, there's Billy, there's Johnny. Anyway, and
I just want to thank everybody that supports us in Rockin the Love, however, wherever. I mean, we have people in so many corners of our lives that show up and just, I don't know, they're just there for us, and I appreciate it. So.
Yeah, and tell your friends about, especially
the
whole New Thought Media Network. Post it on your, I know for me, I post it on anything that I do produce, or even when I'm on air, that I put on my Facebook page. So, you know, if you could share this with the people, your larger group of people, again, that gets the message out too. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're going to have a great show next week with Reverend Martha Quintana, who will talk to us about how she's globally rocking the love out there.
Absolutely.
So see you next week and have a great week, everybody. Pay attention to those little signs around you and let us know who visited during the week that you may not have noticed before. Just keep on rocking the love. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.